Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay, guys, Skywatch Media have just recently updated a video, so let's begin.
Second week of October 2016. Many of our subscribers and listeners who are diligent observers of the movement of the stars and planets across our sky are aware that something is pulling and tugging at the Earth, in effect causing the Earth to wobble in such a manner as to create the effect that the planets and constellations are out of alignment. As it turns out, we are not alone in our interpretation of these observations. There is an indigenous tribe of people living in the Canadian Arctic regions, as well as in Greenland and parts of the United States, whose ancestors were fantastic forecasters of events relating to climate and earth changes. They are called the Inuit people, once known as the Eskimos, who were the last native people to arrive in North America. Not long ago, the Inuit elders made a serious proclamation aimed directly at NASA, who continues to insist that climate change is caused by man-made global warming. Their warning was to inform the inhabitants of this planet that the devastating effects of climate change were the result of the Earth shifting due to an erratic wobble, which is in effect causing the sky to change. In this proclamation, the elders note that the sun has been rising in a different position, that the daylight hours have been prolonged in the Arctic, and that temperatures have risen rapidly. According to their observations, not only has the sun changed position, but the moon and stars are not where they should be seen in the night sky. This is affecting temperature and wind patterns across the globe, and making weather predictions much more difficult. Let's listen to the Inuit elders as they speak of this dilemma that has come upon the earth.
Ikakang ni makong nikaw na nito narito. Kukila ang nain nasun. Eman na narunangit nga mana ujo narunangit to kau yang manaktok. Ulung atawang na pukto na sa ulat to tayo sa mga balaman. Kau yang malakay karoto nga. Kaya ujo talaga sila. Kaya ito balok sa mga mga kaya di ujo kasi malakay takasyakin. Kaban tayo mga tabanin yung tao kumakala. Ujo kasi malakay takasyakin. Kaya mga anak kasungugami. Wacumano mga ikarwan lang may pawalo katarap tinido. Kisina ni kaya bakit yatok parok sa mga tanan nung naman. Kaya nga uparuli pa uwat tapawa uparok sa mga uparok sa mga alungay tapawa uparok sa mga tanan nung naman. Isa mga katako. Kaya batang katana ukaw sa kanya malaki katana sa kanya. Sila nunak leopard kijak lupa dengan asli naligala cuma kangen lalu no mga kakao nga syukurin ni taka kikene kawin kipanya nga sepena apa nga nanubulik mau nga sa miano ni pekatalak si mga kalawang nunak leopard tanah naligala cuma naktilugo mau nga daw yamit siya nung nga takay siya mo naktisakin sa kanatay ka ako siya titigaan dito so kaya nung nakikitlok pa naman sa kinatpaw na pa dito na nga aking nga nagsarang lago ako siya ba kakto yung karo kakatyak po ko yung mga naman di tayo man nasangay ako lugar siya ni wang naksangin na pangon nakapawak to kaya kung napagayap sa yung ayaw sa tao na kamarit ko wang yung pinigil man ang minatot ko yung wala ko kan dia kan tamakko ajili yun naktangin ikung ngadun imun na wala ko sa mayakarwa tayo man daw yun nila amma ang kawala ko sa mga minata amang marala sa mga kuta tamakko utrugan amma kanoy jabat sa madagat sida kanoy jabat ida nuna kanoy jabat tayo man na wala ko sa iman na siya kawadag ko ninig among ngadun lagi iman dapat doa saya kalau iman lagi kaya harus sebut jauh model ni tu anu kita nak mangak pada kuih ni anu bang dia ketia untuk tuaro sama itu kau dulu ni kisu yang tuaro yang nama masalah tu ni ambil abang saya mengatin ni anu dia ada waktu kita nak ano kaga yung ito haro sa may utan na tawag nga ano ka sangiyo haro magaw yung narito ni tawag nga doon man na sila ko yun doon ito huwag niyo aji pa doon haro.
The people of the North are aware of the sudden changes that are taking place on the planet and have earnestly attempted to warn the nations of the world that the Earth's climate is in a downward spiral as a result of a severe tilting of the axis, which can only be caused by outside forces, by an influential power now looming in our solar system. While the American press remains silent on this topic, the Russians have decided to become more forthright on an issue that influences the entire world. The tremendous increase in earth-shattering fireballs and bolids, accompanied by a twisting magnetosphere, continues to occur, while oddities such as reddish rainfall and peculiar sunlight triggered by an out-of-this-world force are frequently unacknowledged by the media. NASA, for its part, continues to publish information that is intended to confuse and bewilder the general public about what is happening to the planet and why it is happening. They wish to keep you twisting in the wind while forces at play continue to impact the Earth's climate and continue to alter the mechanisms that shape this planet, such as volcanic and earthquake activity, which are often referred to as earth changes. A few months ago, NASA published a study showing that Antarctica is actually gaining more ice than it is losing. They made the announcement after using satellites to examine the heights of the region's ice sheet. The findings contradict the prevailing theory that Antarctica has actually been shrinking. However, it's important that you understand that the authors of this study are from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, and the cause of this ice gain isn't entirely known. They are just theories. It is worth mentioning that NASA was blasted by dozens of their own scientists regarding their global warming stance, even though a number of the world's top scientists have questioned just how much an impact CO2 gases have on climate change. So what then would we consider to be the cause of such a fluctuation in global mean temperatures across a region such as Antarctica or the Arctic? Changes in the Earth's orbit would be a likely culprit to such fluctuations, causing the seasons to become longer in duration, and thus creating a scenario where the Earth either heats up at a more rapid pace or cools down to such an extent as to create another mini ice age. But NASA wants to have their cake and eat it too. In other words, they want you to believe that the temperature fluctuations are the result of greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere, rather than a planet that is in a severe wobble and shifting due to outside forces. Is there a purpose behind NASA's campaign of deception? It's a matter of interpretation, but skepticism abounds when it seems apparent that the absolute truth is being suppressed about the sudden rise in temperatures and the subsequent increase in catastrophic events that are unprecedented in nature that are happening all across the globe. There are many so-called stewards of the earth who understand that there is much more to this story than what we are being told. It's a fact that many humans have no consideration for their environment or their natural surroundings, as money has taken precedence over the planet's health and well-being. And yet there are powerful forces at play in our universe and across the solar system that are having a profound effect on our planet and the welfare of its inhabitants. Let's take a look at some of the latest video and image captures of the Nemesis Nibiru system that is now traveling through our backyard and making its presence known across many regions of the globe. A video was recently posted on Facebook, taken in an outdoor setting in Los Angeles on October the 9th. The remarkable thing about this video, more than the fact that the second sun is visible to the left, is that some sort of electromagnetic pulsation or a solar eruption of some sort is occurring with our sun. What's especially interesting about this video is that it almost replicates a video of the sun that was captured on October the 8th in North Carolina. Take a look at the intense flashing and pulsation happening in this video. This image from Australia, posted on October the 8th, shows the two-sun phenomenon. Now, the trolls who frequent this channel will tell you this is not real, that it was taken behind double-pane glass. But there is something quite unique about this image. The second sun is actually casting its reflection in the water. This is something that a lens flare cannot do. If you look carefully, you will see several lens flares located above the waterline, none of which are casting their reflection upon the water. So when someone tries to convince you into believing that lens flare anomalies or a refraction from the camera lens can actually create a false reflection on the water, I would take that interpretation with a grain of salt. Where the system is visible at any given moment will depend on the angle of the Earth's rotation in relation to the retrograde movement of the binary star system at the time in which the image is captured. If you haven't noticed, the second sun is getting closer to us. This is because the system is moving to a position above the ecliptic where its visibility will become more apparent. In June of last year, I published a video showing the Nemesis companion appearance in South Africa from a sunset location near the South African Large Telescope. The capture of this object, whether it be the second sun or the red planet Nibiru, has been noticed from this location for several months. Now, a number of shills and debunkers dismissed the image from last year, claiming, as they always do, that it was nothing more than a lens flare. Well, I have some video coverage that was taken from this location just a few days ago on October the 8th. As you will see in this video footage, the clouds partially obscure this object passing in front of it. So how is it that clouds can pass between the so-called lens flare and our view of this object? The answer is they cannot, as this is not a lens flare. Now, I encourage you to check this out for yourself. So rather than accept my interpretation of this video, go to the site listed here and view the time-lapse video. Here is a video capture from the Moonglow Observatory in Warrensburg, Missouri, taken on September the 19th, showing the binary sun as well as one of the planets of this system, resembling the appearance of the blue star Kachina, which the Hopi Nation has referred to as the harbinger to the day of purification here on Earth. There is no doubt that two suns are observable from this observatory web camera. In September, a pair of space weather balloons were launched from opposite sides of the United States to measure cosmic rays in the atmosphere. During the flights, a spherical camera captured unique images of Earth from the stratosphere. This fully interactive and spinnable and zoomable view of the Atlantic coast from an altitude of 108,000 feet reveals something quite striking. As the sun comes into view, you will notice that there are disk rings around the sun. Now, why is this observation that important? Because what you are viewing here portends that something very large is lurking at some distance behind the sun. And that is definitely something that is disconcerting, or something that should certainly raise some red flags. But there is something else in this video that is captured in the far distance. Take a look at this planetary object here. Does this look familiar to you? Could this be the infamous Planet X Nibiru, which is the largest planet within the binary star system Nemesis? Something now appears to be lurking somewhere within the inner solar system. Could it be that this is what NASA was trying to hide from the public when they shut down the ISS cameras? It has been widely reported that they have been concealing videotaped images of UFOs from the International Space Station. So hiding something as massive as what is coming our way is certainly not out of the realm when it comes to the workings of NASA. In my previous video, I described how climate change and the extreme weather events that are related to these changes are creating havoc on the planet. Mega Hurricane Matthew had a tremendous impact on the United States, to the Caribbean island of Haiti, and to the Bahamas. The tidal surge from this storm was one of the most powerful ever recorded, causing widespread flooding along the Atlantic coast of the United States and claiming the lives of more than 1,000 people in its wake. One cannot describe how serious this is becoming. It is happening too often, and its effects are long-lasting. Take a look at these before and after images from North Carolina. It tells its own story. Just prior to the formation of megastorm Matthew, another superstorm on the opposite side of the world hit Taiwan. It was the strongest typhoon to strike the region in recent memory. Take a look at this amazing video, which gives you an idea of the force of this storm. Not only is the weather becoming more violent and more intense, but strange space rocks and objects of unknown origin are entering the Earth's atmosphere. Take a look at this astonishing early morning Facebook video from Arizona, captured on September 19th. Is this a meteor or asteroid crashing through the stratosphere, or a precursor to what is coming our way? There are also strange sounds emanating from the heavens, a phenomenon which defies logical explanation. On October 2nd, the sounds of trumpets could be heard in the sky over Jerusalem. Is this a warning from the heavens, as described in biblical scripture? Listen to the sound. It is almost deafening to the ears.
Assalamu alaikum. I've done an upload on this. I understand this to be military technology. They're just using it in order to lull the masses into believing that biblical prophecy is unfolding, and to reinstate the narrative that Israel actually belongs to the Jewish tribes. And when I say the Jewish tribes, I guess we're referring to the Khazars that are actually currently occupying the lands. and there's not much Jewish about them if you do your research and understand the history of how it was set up, where they came from and migrated from, and who generally make up the population of the Jewish majority in Israel, and there's a lot to be said about that as well. But anyway, what you see in the skies and the sounds of trumpets, again, I think that's part of the whole psyop being played out upon the Ummah, and that's just to drive the Christian masses to support and continue supporting, and then to expect biblical events to occur very soon. And it's all to basically just reinforce this narrative about these the extraterrestrial contact, as I understand it, that they're about to stage during the passing of this binary system as it's out on its trajectory, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Also notice the odd shape of the clouds above the city. They form a large circle in the place where the strange sound is originating. These images were taken just yesterday, October 13th, from Australia. It is a very disturbing capture, as it indicates that the Nemesis system is getting closer and appearing much larger in recent photos. There are many things happening now that we...
Like I previously maintained, what I see over here, and this is from, I guess, the barrage of research and the photography that I've seen during my journey studying this phenomena, is that there are actually lenses above our atmosphere put up there to refract and bend the light of these celestial bodies, as well as to cloak them. And what happens, like I've said, I mean, as time passes and the system gets closer and closer to us, it's going to be more difficult for this for these lenses to then cover what's above our horizons, as these celestial bodies become greater and bigger and overwhelm the kind of size and scale of these lenses that have been put up there to cloak this binary system. So I mean, that seems to be exactly what's happening now, and this capture proves it. And this capture was taken on the 3rd of October 2016, interestingly enough. So I mean, subhanAllah, again, it's just more corroborating evidence that this system is actually getting closer to us, and as it does, we'll expect the sort of events that have been laid out in the PDF. Certainly expecting, I've got no cause to believe that that's not going to happen, and those disasters won't occur, as well as the comet debris entering our atmosphere almost like missiles and pelting different regions and different locations of the earth, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Do not fully comprehend. Maybe we are not meant to know these things because they will inevitably cause fear and paranoia among society.
Again, the only reason we're not being informed about this, I mean, with all the love, all the love and respect for all these researchers, and they're very competent. But don't forget, everyone is a product of their own circumstances, their own beliefs, their own conditioning, and their own perspective, and they'll have their own opinion as a result. Now, as a Muslim, as a believer, I certainly am inclined towards believing different. And I also understand from the research I've been doing, and my heart and intuition has always been inclined towards Surah Tariq and Surah An-Najm of the Quran, that this particular star and is being alluded to, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But I certainly, there's a lot of conviction in my faith that this surah is being alluded towards. This star is being alluded towards in the surah, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala knows best. And that there's been a huge scheme, and a plot to prevent mankind, humanity, from learning about the system, so that it can be exploited. Just like they are exploiting on a micro level the vacuums that exist in Syria in terms of the extremist fringe groups. In the same way, they're exploiting this particular arrival of this binary system to the very nth degree, so that they can ensure maximum suffering that would ensue from the disasters, the natural disasters that will occur. And then they've also timed it just like one after the other. They've timed it so that I understand they can stage this extraterrestrial contact. Now, you've seen that with this whole WikiLeaks, and again, I've mentioned how I see WikiLeaks as a psyop as well. And they've all got a purpose, and they're all meant to basically come to the fore at a certain time, when they've been given instructions to, basically, when it's their cue to come in to the fore. And right now, WikiLeaks it's their cue, so they're being used. And they're mentioning that there's been some correspondences between, I think, John Podesta and Hillary Clinton, where they talk about these space wars, and that there's other intelligent life who are basically warring with one another within our solar system in space, and who won't tolerate any sort of war or suffering here back on Earth. Now, interesting enough, that goes all the way back to Hiroshima, one of the bombs that happened then, and then there was a lot of fuss about some UFO activity happening, and they'll tie it all up together. Those were the very same beings who were involved in and were present at that time as well, and they're going to ensure that we don't actually. And I think when this World War III, if indeed it does happen, and it seems very likely again, just like everything else laid out in that PDF science, that will happen imminently, and when that happens is their cue to come in as extraterrestrial intelligent life who've been surveying, supervising, coercing, and have played a pivotal role in the development of humanity throughout the ages. And they've come back to intervene before we basically annihilate ourselves. And this is more or less, I think, how they'll basically introduce themselves. But then I also think that they're also, because they said there's a warring faction, and if I read between the lines, it seems like they're going to create a thesis and an antithesis in that as well. So, I mean, I thought the antithesis would end, and the thesis and antithesis, the Hegelian dialectic, would probably end with World War III. But it seems like it's going to continue on to this extraterrestrial card that they seem to have up their sleeve. I mean, don't forget, you just had the Russian president in the Daily Star. There was an article saying that he would basically come out and expose Planet X, right? And then you've got, again, just to reiterate, the Iraqi transport minister, where he spoke about Zachariah Sitchin being an excellent historian, and talking about Nibiru and the airport, which he just opened, inaugurated, and talked about how the first airport used to be in Iraq, in Sumeria, and space gods had basically built it, and were basically the Anunnaki. And you'll hear this term Anunnaki mentioned a lot in Zachariah Sitchin's works. I would take everything that comes out from Zachariah Sitchin's books and narratives with a pinch of salt. He worked very closely with NASA. We understand NASA to be let's just call it a PR lying space agency. That's exactly what they are, nothing else. And over and above that, whatever activities is taking place beyond and above us, it's to basically scheme and plot against mankind and humanity. There's holographic technology there. There's solar simulating technology there, which is being used as we speak right now. There's the cloaking devices that are being used at the same time. We've talked about the holographic technology and how I at least believe that they will use that technology against the Ummah when staging this extraterrestrial contact with other military technology, with hybridized, cloned humanoid creatures, whilst having these dark napak jinn spirits. And we've talked about what sort of spirits we mean. We don't mean the spirits that basically come from human life as it basically expires and moves on to the next reality in the grave, but rather because those are their souls, and the souls never come back into this existence or this reality. We'd basically hypothesize that they are the Qareen, and in the same way, as when I say Qareen, I mean the dark, the Shayateen, that have been attached as hosts to all of humanity, just like angels. There's a malak also that basically is attached to that same individual when they come into this reality, and the malak, the angel, whispers good things and encourages good within that individual, whereas the darker aspect, which is the Qareen, they whisper evil into their ears and encourage them towards wrong. And I'm personally unsure as to what happens to those entities as we basically pass over and die and move on to the next dimension, the next reality of the grave, where our body decomposes but our soul exists and experiences that reality for whatever it may be, according to the legacy that you've basically lived and whilst during your tenure in this reality. Anyway, so I mean, I believe that the dark jinn. I mean, they're not just the Qareen. They're not made of the Qareen. There's many other aspects to jinn, and that's a whole topic altogether. And I certainly ain't uh, um, qualified enough to illuminate on that particular topic. But I understand that those sort of they'll be invoked, and they'll be the sort of spirits that will enter into these hybridized, cloned, humanoid kind of beings, and used during this extraterrestrial contact. I mean, don't forget there won't be that many in high number. There's going to be a lot of holographic technology. There's going to be a lot of anti-gravitational propulsion system aircraft, which would, to you and me, and conventionally we'd call them UFO, which are unidentified flying objects. They'll be used during this whole stage of that there's this false staged UFO contact that they seem to have on their cards, and my research definitely is alluding towards that. I just find it difficult to believe different, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
My many years of investigation into the existence of Planet X leads me to believe, as it does for many others, that NASA knows that there is a brown dwarf star called Nemesis that is orbiting around our solar system, that this star has 7 planets and moons of its own. They have known about this invading system for decades, but have kept it a secret all this time, realizing that the time would arrive when they could no longer keep it hidden. That time has arrived.
Once they've done this, I understand, and because this is a real event as far as I know of the binary system and the star. As it goes past, it causes a destruction. I believe that they're going to stage this extraterrestrial contact, but at the same time, back here on Earth, they're also going to kickstart the World War III, the nuclear war, and an economic collapse. So, I mean, they want to ensure absolute psychological trauma to whoever is left behind. When I say left behind, who has survived the the nuclear war and whatever follows in terms of war, and the economic collapse and the suffering and the starvation that would follow, and the natural disasters that would occur as a result of this system and its magnetic and gravitational influence on the Earth. Once that's happened, I understand that during that time, almost at the same time, they're going to stage this extraterrestrial contact, following which I think it will pave the way for the Dajjal Lanzullahi alayh, which is the Antichrist, to create that fertile ground for his grand appearance, and to lull the masses, the remaining masses, into this false Luciferian doctrine, which we talked about it being a dualistic third eye religion, which basically encourages man to explore falsely divinity within themselves and the apotheosis of man. Now, we've discussed that on previous uploads as well, and that's what I understand would be the case, and that he will have the eye of Ra on his forehead. It seems to have within it, if you look at it carefully enough, and I've done an upload, part 1 and part 2 of Kafa Ra, which basically explains the eye of Ra and how we understand it basically connects with this whole extraterrestrial contact thing. I understand that he'll very likely, and that's another upload where I've mentioned the Antichrist and the Sirius Star connection. I understand, I personally believe that that's basically a constellation where the Antichrist will claim has come from, and he will be the savior from these Anunnaki beings. So I mean, this extraterrestrial contact will be staged, and then, which will be another thesis, antithesis, and then the grand appearance will be a savior from these beings, and everything else will be this messianic character, false Antichrist, the one impersonating Jesus, Isa alayhi salam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the ummah from this. Please remember me in your du'as. Remember all of mankind, the Muslim ummah. Specifically, I can't encourage everyone more to immediately turn in repentance, to make tawbah, realign with the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Seek forgiveness for yourself and for all of the Muslim Ummah, and memorize the first 10 and the last 10 ayats of Surah Kahf. Also memorize and understand the meaning of Surah Ikhlas, and anyway, Jazakallahu khairan wa ahsanul jaza for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.